Hello there, Azer here. Today I just have a bit of a get-go on what the whole Mars systems is like, and I would like to actually give a little bit of a short summary of what it's supposed to function as. Unfortunately, like a lot of people's expectations, Mars is not like your typical dark blast from base PSO2. I think it's much more similar to an AIS unit that is going to be deployed temporarily, and it's something that you just pull up when you are when you require a huge firepower, or you wanted to just clear a group of enemies as quick as possible, or you just wanted to deal the maximum damage to a down boss at that right moment as well. So according to like how you actually gain the energy required to actually summon the Mars unit, unfortunately it's kind of slow to my taste, I suppose. I was expecting it to be as fast as something like Photon Blast, I guess, but unfortunately it will require a certain amount of time until you actually collect enough energy till minimum of like 25% in order for you to summon your Mars units. No, of course, in rotations like PSE bursts or even like fighting against an urgent quest boss, you definitely are going to able to get enough energy as long as you are actually hitting something. So it doesn't actually increase the bar by, like, for example, you're dealing if you are actually killing an enemy or not. It's actually based on your attacking amount of your attacks actually land at the enemy. So as long as there's something, if you're hitting at something, the energy bar will just increase, while it's a bit slower, I guess. But eventually, I believe in the future, maybe there is going to be a skill tree that increases the accumulation of the Mars energy bar, but we'll just see about that. For now, I guess you can actually go into the training center and just test all kinds of combos that you can actually accomplish. When I think the training center should be permanent. I am not exactly sure why they are still, doing it as a limited time quest, but I guess Sega is just Sega again. So basically, in this training area, you have a rock bear that is standing still and just never gonna do anything at all. I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah, it probably mirrors the base PSO2 training area, I guess. And then, of course, there is the left side enemy, which is actually a Dietile sword that actually actively attacks you, where you can actually test out your counter abilities or sidestep abilities, I guess. Because not all of the weapons have a defensive ability of attacking or countering the enemy. So the other way around is probably choosing the right set for you yourself. It's either a long range unit is going to have sidestep capabilities but not exactly a counter attack, while the melee units are usually able to negate damage by certain means. But yeah, it's basically for you to testing in like against enemies that are actually attacking you, or if you are actually trying to attack an enemy above you as well at the right side, which is kind of telling on which of the Mars units is actually easier to reach the enemy or actually have a gap closer. From what I researched is that the combination of having a Garm and a Scylla is probably easier for you to actually gap close the enemy and hitting a wide area in comparison to something like a Nidhogg and other unit, I guess. So with this combination, you basically have something that actually allows you to just gap close by using the Garm Blade, by just using its powerization, I guess, ability, and then you can just reach to the enemy no matter how long it is, I guess. But if you cannot hit them, then you do no damage. And that is just the unfortunate circumstances, I guess, of Mars units, is that sometimes you can hit the enemy if you are able to hit the enemy like their hitboxes, but if you miss their hitbox completely, then you have probably waste your whole time waiting for ultimate to charge up. So it's kind of like a hit or miss thing sometimes if you are fighting against an enemy that's elevation above you. So I think that's the reason why Mars is not exactly like a flying kind of a unit. I guess it's more like a grounded kind of a unit for now, I suppose. In the future, maybe we'll get more abilities for us to actually gap close the enemy, but for now, only Garm and Syla have the very easy ability to actually aim the enemy no matter where the location is, I guess. Yeah, I think Nidhogg is overall actually feeling much better to use in terms of like, if you like those high-speed melee attacks and constant attacking patterns, I guess Nidhogg is actually for you. Not only it looks more metal because of their side and the saw as well, which is actually pretty cool. Well, I mean, you don't really like consume your HP to attack the targets as well, which makes it also a little bit safer to use than like Garm, I suppose. Well, Garm also like it's pretty decent, but I guess Nidhogg is more towards single target bossing kind of an ordeal, I suppose. While Hydra is a little bit more basic. Hydra really feels like the original AIS unit that you used back in base PSO2. You have a normal shoot that can turn into a laser after a while, and it can also be charged up into like a constant laser blast after using a certain combination of like techs, I suppose, or PAs. And then, of course, it also has the strongest nuke ability, which is the weapon action. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to charge it up and shoot the enemy as well, but the damage that is being dealt by this attack is probably the highest because this attack is going to deal only one line of damage, so that's why the damage numbers look so high. But from my testing, if you actually increase like enough common skills into like your potency or the crit rate and crit damage, I think Syla's nuking abilities also can be compared if you have the maximum charge as well. So I think this Syla and Hydra is probably like a very, very cool, like usable kind of an ordeal, I guess. For me, I would like to combine Hydra and Syla to use personally because, I mean, you don't really need a lot of points to just deal a lot of damage, so there's that. And Syla allows you to move very fast, other than like the Hydra slow attacking kind of standstill attacking kind of movement speed, I suppose. And yeah, you can actually try to combine both melees, but you would probably lack the damage if you don't really invest enough points into your common skills, unfortunately. So for now, I guess it's the best kind of a build, and earlier on is that put in points for the unit of the M.A.R.S that you are using, and put in points for the combination of the two weapons that you're using, and of course increase the points for the vertical thrusters, because you're going to always need the airtime, I suppose, especially if you want to dodge the enemy attacks or you want to, get closer to the enemy. You definitely require those basic skills that is level 1 in common skills area. For the rest of the skills, you can actually earn the skill points from just fighting bosses. Some of the classes, they cannot really utilize their weak points, or they cannot really utilize like their chain bursts like for the TMG, so it's kind of mixed in terms of like which class can use them effectively. From what I know is that the scaling of the damage that you actually can do with your M.A.R.S scales based on your potency. So if your total potency is on like 4,000 and above, then congratulations, because they are going to do 500% damage, I guess. So that's what I heard. The floor potency is probably like the same, I guess, for the whole thing. It doesn't really like calculate your floor potency on your own weapon or armor. So don't worry about like having to build like a complete floor potency kind of a build for like cannons and stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter. Your M.A.R.S is going to just scale your potency, I guess. So you don't have to worry about that other stuff. Other than that, I think so far it's actually pretty cool. Now, of course, the hiccups are definitely apparent, and I hope that they allow us to customize our M.A.R.S unit more in the future, I can actually smell there will be more skill tree skills and definitely more Mars units for us to actually utilize. Because so far, it's just very, very basic. I don't really like some of the designs at the back of certain Mars units, but I guess that's actually more towards the preferences, I guess. But so far, just pick the correct Mars unit because if I'm not wrong, the Fafnir is a defense type, Fenrir is a more offensive and speedy type, while the Line Worm one is actually the support type. And I think all of them are usable. It's just that it really depends on what kind of gameplay style you prefer to approach with. So far, I think it's actually pretty decent for me at least, because I'm just gonna use them as like a stopgap measure to just cast some nukes and on the enemy boss down phases, or just at the end of the Lucille where the boss is really, really tanky and you just wanted to get as much damage as possible. The only downside with the M.A.R.S is that it's not really that fast. I mean, it's not exactly like a very, very high speed moving vehicle like how you actually imagine it to be. Yeah, so far I think it's a pretty cool concept. It's just that it looks a little bit more like a magical kind of an ordeal than a mechanical one. So far, that's my first impression of M.A.R.S. I really enjoy it, and I hope that, you know, cast players definitely can enjoy it a lot more as long as they are using, you know, NGS parts, because apparently base PSO2 cast parts just doesn't work with it. So that's all for this video, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara.